What's up guys, thanks for tuning in. So the C8 is just under 2 years old and I put already 30,000 miles on it, and I did a review of that, but I neglected to talk about the carbon fiber pieces that I have on the C8 and how they held up. So today that's what we're gonna go over. So the first thing we're gonna take a look at is the OEM pieces, the pieces that I got when I first bought my C8. And those include the carbon fiber mirror caps, the rooftop, as well as like the interior package and the engine appearance package. So let's take a look at each of those one by one, and then we'll go to the aftermarket parts. So the first part that we're gonna look at is the carbon fiber mirror caps that you can get. Now those pieces have actually lasted pretty well, considering they're always in the elements. They're getting hit by road debris sometimes, all those different kind of things. And it's actually lasted pretty well. Most importantly, there's no kind of yellowing on the actual parts themselves as compared to maybe other pieces that you'll see. And that's a clear indication that the clear coat and that the process that was done to make them was high quality. You don't have it yellowing from being out in the elements and hitting the sun. So in general, it's held up pretty well. It doesn't have any kind of PPF on it. It just has ceramic coating, and it's done pretty darn well, all considering. For all the little nicks that you can see, it's actually held up pretty well. So the next thing we're gonna look at is that sexy carbon fiber roof. Now the carbon fiber roof is actually one of the things I'm actually most impressed about. It sees the most sun out of any of the different carbon fiber pieces because of obvious reasons, but it's actually one of the things that's held up the best out of all my different carbon fiber pieces that I have. There's no yellowing whatsoever. It still looks pristine. I don't have any kind of PPF on it. I just have ceramic coat on it. Frankly, all my pieces, I'll just put it out there, all my pieces don't have PPF on them. They just have ceramic coating on them. In general though, this piece has held up really well. As expensive of an option as it was, I'm actually glad at how well it's held up. I was worried about this piece potentially having some issues after 2 years essentially of owning it. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. If you always wanted to get a carbon fiber roof, OEM from GM, that matches the color of your car, it does hold up pretty darn well. So the next thing we're gonna take a look at is the interior. Now I got the interior carbon fiber package with my C8 back in 2021, and it has actually held up pretty darn well. So let's take a look at that. So as you can see, a lot of these pieces have held up pretty darn well, even in being on the inside. Now I do have ceramic tint that does help keep the fading and such down in the interior. But again, all of these pieces have held up really, really well. So now the last thing that we need to check out is the engine bay OEM carbon fiber, which that tells kind of an interesting story. So the engine bay is actually kind of interesting. It has yellowed quite a bit, and it actually started yellowing pretty early on when I first got my C8. And it's actually something that I've seen quite a few people say that they had it on their C8 in regards to yellowing of those two inner pieces that you can get. Now it kind of worked in my favor in regards to my engine kind of coloring and accenting, that I was able to kind of make it look like it's purposeful, but that used to be like a gray instead of a brown carbon fiber pieces. Kind of a little disappointing. I mean, I get it, it's the high heat that's probably causing that, but I want to say that I've seen other aftermarket carbon fiber pieces that don't do that. So it's kind of a little bit disappointing. Something to keep in mind, is that engine appearance package truly worth it? I kind of argue that it's not, because of what you get with that in regards to it yellowing, unless you want it to yellow. I mean, some people like it yellowing, but it's definitely one of those things to keep in mind if you're deciding to get that. It makes me curious if the Z06 engine appearance package will do the same or not. So we'll be taking a look at all these different carbon fiber pieces over the next 6 to 12 months and further, and seeing if there's any kind of updates on really bad wear or whatnot. So if that's something that interests you, I would highly recommend subscribing to the channel, as well as clicking on that bell so you know when the next cool video drops. So now that we looked at all the OEM carbon fiber pieces that I have on the C8, we can take a look at all the aftermarket ones that I have. So the first one to start is the Boomerang carbon fiber overlays that I have on the C8, and that was one of the first aftermarket pieces I got installed on the C8. Now this piece is from EOS Extreme Online Store, and frankly it's a pretty affordable aftermarket carbon fiber piece that's real carbon fiber that just overlays. It's not the one that actually installs and replaces your actual Boomerang inlets. I figured when I first got it, I wanted to see how it would do. Overall, it's actually one of the pieces that have shown the most wear and the most yellowing out of all the different carbon fiber pieces. And I mean, you can definitely see how yellowing it is getting on the C8. And that yellowing happened quite early on. And I would say it started happening after 2 to 3 months of exposure to sunlight that it started yellowing. So I mean, the parts the parts themselves, I believe, are like $300 for both left and right. I mean, it's pretty affordable, but it's kind of one of those situations that you might be getting what you pay for. So, but I was kind of curious to see, hey, is this gonna hold up? Interestingly enough, I got the carbon fiber pieces from EOS for the rocker panels, and that weirdly has held up really well. Those parts are not yellowing. I've had those for a bit of time too, but they didn't start yellowing or anything like that at all. Like, it's been way more months than when the Boomerang started first yellowing. And they're pretty much in great condition, especially with all the road debris that you would see on the C8. So that actually is something that I would recommend to get. I mean, it's a great price. You don't have to go crazy getting one of the more expensive ones. To the untrained person, they're not gonna know any difference. And it's a really easy install. Now, the next carbon fiber piece that I have is in the interior, and it's the 3 silver dash pieces on the trim that I put carbon fiber overlays. And interestingly enough, you know where I got those? eBay. And they were a great price. I think I only spent like $200, not even. And those pieces actually look really good, and they've held up really darn well, all considering. I guess sometimes having a name brand is awesome. I just personally like when I get like a good deal and it's still pretty good quality regardless. So I think that's the practical engineer in me that's talking though. But again, those pieces are doing really well and they look fantastic, not even kidding. Those pieces actually really make it. I really wish GM had just added that into the carbon fiber package from the start, because man, that looks so much better. They really could have like added that in and it would have just, I mean, they already have high demands for all this kind of stuff, but it still is one of those things that I would have definitely loved to have, and I would have paid extra to get a GM OEM quality, even though these are still pretty darn good. So the next thing that we have is the carbon fiber wing from AG Motorsports. And honestly, it is a beauty. I absolutely love this carbon fiber piece on my C8. And the quality from AG Motorsports is pretty darn good. It's hard to beat. It has lasted pretty darn well. There's maybe a tiny little bit of yellowing in certain spots, but for the most part, the whole thing is all a single piece of carbon fiber. It's not struts that have to be assembled or anything. It's all a single piece and it is beautiful. I absolutely love this piece. There is a bit of wear. I mean, it is seeing some of the elements, but in general though, this piece has kept its finish pretty darn well and is something that I definitely think it was worth the money to get. It definitely makes it stand out compared to the regular OEM high wing that you can get. So the next thing we do have is also the Borla exhaust system that has carbon fiber exhaust tips. Now, I've already made a video of this talking about how well they've done in regards to Borla, as well as the actual exhaust tips and how they fared. I'll say really quickly, I did have an issue where I had to get those carbon fiber tips replaced because I had faulty carbon fiber, but my Borla was one of the first to get shipped out and installed from the company when they first released it, and they've replaced it, no questions asked, no problems. And these new tips have lasted great. There's no problem with the finishes, and I've had it for a few months now so far, so they're really an awesome company. So the last carbon fiber piece on the C8 is actually from Paragon, and that's the license plate insert that you can get. And that particular piece was actually part of the first install that we've ever done when we first launched the channel officially. And it's a great little piece that just adds that extra little bit of flair to your C8, and I absolutely love it on mine. The quality has been great on that. There's been no fading whatsoever, and overall it's held up. There's no kind of issues where it's peeling off from the backside when I first installed it. Very easy and very high quality, kind of what you would expect from Paragon, honestly. Definitely would recommend that piece. I think it's an awesome little piece to have if you're really into that carbon fiber look and you want to change up your C8 from just the usual ones that you see. So I hope the information was pretty useful. If you like this video, please check out any of my other videos like this one here for your C8 or car needs.